thank you to my spirits and my guides as I sat down here ready to record this. My angel number was on the clock, 1111. I see angel numbers all the time. Mine's 1111, other people's 444. I see other people's for them. Unique story. I love to thrift shop. I was in Goodwill shopping, and I have a wallet phone, and I opened my phone to get my card, and my phone time was 444. And the guy checking me out said, "Wow, that's interesting. That's my angel number." I said, "Oh, how cool." So we went ahead and checked me out, and my balance was 1444. We were both in awe. So the spirits are always with us. But this is the second of my videos that I have decided to make for the ether, to put out there. Who listens to it and watches it and learns from it was put there for you. If you think I'm wrong, then don't listen to me. I don't care. I'm 71 years old. I was raised by a zealot Baptist preacher, and I looked behind the curtain. I saw the hypocrisy. I saw the lies. And by the time I was 12 years old, I wouldn't lie it no more. All those times I was supposed to have been banished to my room, I was listening. I knew about the Peyton place. I knew about the song leader having an affair with the piano player. I knew about the Sunday school bookkeeper embezzling money so she could take her kids to Carowinds. I knew about that. They stayed in the church. They kept counting the money, and they kept playing the piano and leading those hymns. But I knew it. I was sitting in the congregation looking at them, watching them, and thinking, So that's when it started to crack. My dad believed that you were in a perpetual state of repentance, that once you were saved, you were always saved was not true. That you had to continue to beg for your repentance and for your salvation on a regular basis. I don't know, if that was to keep the pews full and the tax coming in. I'm not really sure. I didn't see evidence of that because, to be truthful, my dad was, he seemed to be sincere. It's just his sincerity was poorly placed. He was just so scared and confused because his entire doctrine was based on fear of hell, which equals fear of God. There is no love in fear. If you are saved because you are afraid of something, you're saved for the wrong reason. No. If you're saved in love, you don't need that fear. Because you would be just too embarrassed to hurt your father. So you don't do stupid stuff. You don't have to be afraid. You just have to love and honor. And then everything falls into place. But that's beside the point. But by 12 years old, I didn't buy it. And I asked my dad, I said, "Dad, it just doesn't make sense to me. How can we be the only ones in heaven? How come everybody else are sinners and they're condemned to a life of hell and brimstone? How can the Catholics and the Buddhists and the Islamics and the Muslims how can they all be wrong? Why are we the only ones that are right?" So that didn't make sense to my logical mind because I was just a little bit, I guess, too logical for a 12-year-old. That was about the time I started questioning everything. Before then, everything just scared me to death. I was just terrified. I was terrified of church. I was terrified of God. I was terrified of hell. I was terrified of my father. I was terrified of my mother. I was terrified of everything. At about 12 years old, I didn't want to be afraid anymore. Fear is nothing good to live in. I didn't like being afraid. I didn't like it at all. So once I decided God didn't want me, I wasn't afraid anymore. Because if God didn't want me, then I didn't have anything to fear, So I didn't have to satisfy my dad anymore. So I just started living my life of freedom and love and openness. And I I was a flower child. I was a hippie. I believed the peace and love to my cellular structure, and I still do. I still believe in peace. I still believe in love. And it has sustained me and has given me a wonderful life. It really has. You know, but I did gather a lot of religion through osmosis, simply by being there by force until I got married. As long as I lived under my dad's roof, I went to church when my dad went to church. It didn't matter how old I was. When I came back home after getting married, if I was under his roof and it was Sunday, I was going, you know. But it got to the last few years before, you know, I played the game. I just wanted to get along, you know. I didn't like being the object of, you know, prayers. I didn't want him to pray for me. I really didn't. I didn't want there to be a, you know, an unspoken prayer out there floating around about me. I just didn't want it. But good gosh, there was a lot. I don't think they helped me any. But I wasn't interested in that at all. It didn't work. So I just couldn't reconcile, though, what I had been taught. You know, I still had that never-ending fear that maybe he's right. Maybe there is a hell. I don't want to go there. I don't deserve to go there. I'm a good person. Good people don't go to hell, do they really? So I started doing research, and if you do your research, you'll go back and you'll find that Jesus Christ, in none of his teachings, ever mentioned hell. Never. He never threatened us with punishment. Never. Not Jesus Christ. No, he didn't. It was all the people who hijacked his message after they crucified him that came up with all that fun stuff. It wasn't Jesus Christ. No. He just taught love. There's no fear in love. There's no hate in love. There's just unconditional love, caring, acceptance, understanding, tolerance. That's what we all are. That's what Jesus Christ wanted us to all be. It didn't have anything to do with the King of the Jews and the armies to defeat enemies, and, you know, it didn't have anything to do with that. You know, they really didn't even have a concept for hell until Dante painted the painting, I don't know, it was 1300s. You know, it was Dante's painting that gave the Jesuits and the canons their great idea. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's terrifying. That'll work. That'll keep them in line, won't it? And it has. It has. It has. But there is no hell. We create our own hell. If we live in fear, we will never live a happy, passionate, and fulfilled life. And if you believe in hell, you're living in fear. Oh. It's so misguided, isn't it? So Jesus Christ was teaching us to love one another. He was a rock star. He had people following him like they flocked to the airports to see the Beatles. That's how Jesus was to the people in his time. He was a rock star. You know, everybody wanted to hear what he had to say. Everybody wanted a piece of his music, because he was playing beautiful music. Beautiful music. We just didn't recognize it yet. You know, but then you go and you get these people who want to control everybody and everything. You know, those were the Jesuits. Those are the priests and the Pharisees. Those were the ones who wanted to control people. And the only way they figured out that they could control people was through violence and through hate and through fear. And they saw all these people following Jesus Christ, and they thought, wow, this is wonderful. This is a built-in kingdom right here. You know, if we can get this guy, Jesus Christ, if we can get him to come over here and say that he's our king and that he runs everything, then all them people will come with him. And that will, oh good and gosh, that will triple our numbers. That will quadruple our control, you know. So they go over to Jesus and they ask him and they say, come on over here. Will you be our king? Will you create armies for us out of your multitudes to fight our enemies for us? So that our religion can win and so that we can control everything? And Jesus said, no. That's nothing like what I'm about. No. I just love people. I don't want to fight people. I don't want to make armies. You know, I want to just tell people that if they love you and if I love you, if everybody loves each other, all the rest of the stuff will fall into place underneath it. And we won't have to worry about armies and control and manipulation and churches and religion. None of that will be necessary. Because we'll all be living within our own divine light. And we'll all know our own God and our own truth. They didn't want that. They wanted us to know their God and their truth. Because if we had our own, we didn't need them. So the manipulation began. The reconstruction of religion and doctrine and the message of Jesus Christ began. So when he wouldn't become their king and he wouldn't raise their armies for him and when he wouldn't tell the people that he had been teaching to love to go and hate with them, then they killed him. They crucified him. They put him on the cross. Then they hijacked his message, they hijacked his followers, and they've been doing it ever since. In Jesus Christ's name, they have been distributing fear. That is as contrary to the message of Jesus Christ as you can get. So I don't buy the Bible. I don't buy the rules and regulations that they've given us in God's name, in Jesus' name, because God didn't have nothing to do with this. No. God didn't have nothing to do with this. This was the Pharisees and the prophets and the people who wanted to control the masses. They kept us dumb, and they kept us relying on them for our well-being, our spiritual well-being, our personal well-being, our well-being in every regard. They didn't want us to learn to read because they didn't want us to know what all this stuff said. They wanted us to just take their word for it, and we did for centuries and centuries and centuries. But I was born, and there's many, many, many more like me out there. I'm not by myself. There are a lot of me's out there that see it this way. You know, I still worship Jesus Christ. I still want to live in the light of Jesus Christ. I want to live like him. I want to appreciate, distribute, and love. I want to offer unconditional love to all who come to me. Acceptance. Unconditional acceptance. All who come to me. I was taught this by the spirits within me.